ready for takeoff.
We are cleared for takeoff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time to take flight in your community and in your life. This is Audio Airstrike.
I think the measurement of value.
The measurement of value is in the eye of the beholder.
Well, the measurement of value is in what benefit does it offer to stakeholders.
No, that's not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
If you have stakeholders, the measure that's a whole nother conversation. That's not even that's mixing apples and oranges. The value bottom line is with the consumer. If you don't have the consumer that has the value, then it doesn't mean anything for the stakeholders, because
the stakeholders, I meant the consumer and the merchants, and the audience. The consumer is the audience,
okay,
and the merchants.
But to dictate that process is not that's not it's not a rule. You know what I'm saying? That's why there's a whole lot out there. Okay, fine. To somebody else, being able to be connected to somebody that developed the Apple logo, then that would be something that they could use that would actually, for people that are into that kind of fad type whatever, that brings a whole nother base to them that they didn't have before. You do something with somebody that don't have no name, the logo's fire, okay, I get it. You get the look, you get what you want, and then you on your own. And so what you're doing is you're actually leveraging a marketing platform, leveraging a relationship, because you tapped into $10,000. That's worth something. So that perception is also worth something, because people's perception create their own reality.
That's true.
So if you have somebody that has a perception of something, even though it doesn't generate in a actual sale, it leads credence to validity, to solidarity, to all of the things that people security. If I'm going to, wow, this guy must really be doing whatever for real, because he invested X amount of dollars for a logo. Okay, great. It's the same thing as why you're going to buy Nike shoes with a swoosh on it based off of and not shoes from Payless. Why? They do the same thing. They operate the same way. But the name is just a different, and it's all about status and perception. That's what this whole world is based on.
Yeah.
And if you strip that away, then you're basically fighting uphill and creating your own individualistic type of society piece that doesn't fit with everything else that's out here. So it's like,
I think the overarching point, and
I
we're
think you're swimming upstream as opposed to riding the wave. Ride the wave.
I think what we also need to recognize is that the wave is not necessarily healthy.
Well, listen, whether the wave is healthy or not, that's an individualistic of how it's applied. That has nothing to do with the wave itself. You can anything unhealthy, you can make it healthy if you depending on what you're using it for. What's your motivation?
Well, my motivation here is a healthier alternative. It's an alternative that speaks to...
but that's your perception of healthy. So you push your whole perception of healthy on everybody.
See, perceptions is the problem. I'm not dealing with perceptions. I'm dealing with what we can actually all benefit. Everybody at the table has a benefit. And that's not perception based. That's me going, if I was you, and I suggested this, be empathetic to some degree, to go, if I was in either seat of this conversation, what would satisfy me in that seat? As the promoter of the brand, as the actual promotee of the brand, as the target audience. What is a beneficial, what is a, not absolute, but beneficial for all at the table? What is a win for everybody at the table? So, and that's not perception based.
Okay, well, and I'm going to say this, okay? The mere fact of trying to create that dynamic in and of itself is control. It's like, so if I have, you could say the same thing. The sunshine is bright, and you could have 4 different people come up with 4 different perceptions of what that actual means. So for somebody to sit back and say, well, because it's this way, that doesn't create value for this, or this, you can't say that because you're not this, or this. So it's like stay in your lane kind of thing.
So I think the win there is I asked, say, hey, what did you think of this? If you think it's something that it makes sense to you, then jump in. If not, that's cool.
Well, I mean, we're not even going there with that. We're talking about the fact of, okay, and it's always that way, and it's the same. It would be the same way, the opposite way. So if you thought that paying $10,000 for a logo is valuable, then okay, that's cool. So, but you know what I'm saying? So now we're back to square one.
Square one. The original point was that the system, the wave, has been. We can all agree when we examine the wave that there is some level of inflated, perception-driven hyper marketing that doesn't boil down to actual transaction, and that's a business metric. That's a metric that says what is the value of what I'm paying for? What am I getting for that? Now, opinions aside, we can all look at it and go, in this culture that we live in, there's a lot of hype and perception being sold. And what I'm doing is creating a healthy alternative for those who feel that they would like one.
But I wouldn't pigeonhole everything in that. I would just mention that as a different arm, a different spoke. You know, that's not the hub. You know, it's a way to do. Hey, listen, if you want to do it that way, we can do it this way. If you want to do it that way, then we can do it that way. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
I agree. That's why I asked.
I think that if you open it up and say that this is opportunity, say, hey, you know, you may even have somebody that is just starting out as artist or whatever it is that they are trying to like be a sponsor for or with, and they don't really have the capital to be able to pay $100 a show. Okay, right. I get that. Right. So in that situation, that would apply. Right. That works because but this is what I'm saying. That I wouldn't blanket that, because then that shuts you out of a whole other market piece of people that operate the way that that normal marketing operates.
That's why I would elect but that norm is not a healthy norm.
That's your perception.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Let's look at the metric. Like when you measure value, you're looking at metrics, not perception.
No, when you measure value, you're looking at gain and loss and motivation. Metrics. Okay, metrics, right? Okay, so fine. You say it's not healthy, right? But if you look at somebody that actually is using that, you can't really sit back and say that they're using that or by paying $10,000 for a logo and you're calling that unhealthy. I mean, how do you what's your metric to put the judge on that? When they have a vision, when they have a plan, when they have something that they're working towards, and they see that as value, so that we're not holding nobody at gunpoint. No. You know what I'm saying? Nobody forcing you to spend $10,000. It's not the only way out. Right?
What is the other? I just provided another one.
Well, the other way out is, okay, now we do some more research. $10,000 is out of our visionary budget or whatever it is that we have. So let's look at something that may fit the budget, that may fit with what our vision board is, what our goals are. Okay. And that $10,000 may be something that we can invest in later, right? But for right now, this is where we're at, and be okay with that.
Well, I think looking at all this octopus has one head, and when I say that, it's when you look at the system we live in, where Joy is going to pay more for her car because she's a woman, or they're going to try to get her to pay more if you are not there. If she goes to an auto mechanic, they're going to try to charge her more because a man is not there, and that's fine. That's okay. That's part of this wave. That's part of this norm. And that's what I started with, fine print and fast talk. To me, that's not integrity. Well, I wouldn't want to recommend, a car dealership to Joy knowing that she's going to get swindled because she's a woman. And I feel like we can do business in an alternative way that's healthier.
I get that. I mean, okay, so healthier. So now you identify that, you expose that, because you can't put that across all businesses and all situations and all. You can't blanket that. That's an individualistic situation. I'm not
blanketing. I was speaking specifically to the space of marketing and then also culture. Like, it's not blanket. It's an observation. This culture is very toxic.
I get that.
Yeah, so to me, when you see that, for me, my wiring goes, if something is wrong, I'm not gonna just go along with it. I am wired to try to create a healthy alternative. That's me. That's why I'm here. That's what I do.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
That.
So seeing it and going, I don't think that's good for you, me, everybody at the table. What can be good? And then I'm gonna ask, yo, what do you think? So I'm not pushing or blanketing.
Right.
Hey, what do you think of this? And if you said, nah, that's whack, I'd rather pay the 10 grand. Cool.
No, listen, okay, and I'm with you on 100 on all of that. You know what I'm saying? The thing is that if you are constantly fighting a battle of truth and justice, and what you perceive as the fair and consistent way to go, right? Then what you ultimately end up doing is you end up pigeonholing yourself into a lifestyle of conflict, because you're right. The society we live in, what's going on out here, social injustices, I get all of that. Okay. And you got to pick and choose your battles. And to give voice to someone that has no voice and all. Yeah, I get all of that. But my thing is, at some point in time, you have to develop some type of a consistent lane of stability so that you can move forward and not be always banging up against something. You know what I mean? Because if you're constantly banging up against something, you're basically forging your way through. And okay, I get it. Not everybody is built like that.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Not everybody is built to tote the line and to carry the struggle, and that's a very eclectic space.
No, facts. I like
what
that
I'm
observation. What I want to point out though is it's not a fight for him. That's not my approach. Right? My approach is that's that thing. Okay, I'm not fighting that thing. I'm creating another thing. So I feel the energy is better invested, not in a fight, but in a, hey, here's an alternative. Right?
Okay,
so it's not a fight, and I'm not going against the grain. I feel like, when you think about the consistency of it, you got to think, what right do these people have to spray Dr. King with fire hoses and set dogs on him because he wants to be treated justly? Right. So that consistency is there. It's not a fight that I'm picking. It's already there. So I'm not even fighting. I'm going, that's cool. That's over here. Hey, how about we try an alternative? And I think the energy is better invested in creating an alternative than fighting a consistency.
Facts. I take that. Okay. Energy is better used in a direction that would lead you to be more at peace with oneself. Okay. I get that. Okay. My rub comes where, even if you take that in and of itself and create a new lane that's more positive, it is the fight comes when you compare that more positive lane to the lane that's already there.
Okay.
So that's the fight part. You with me? So, but that still gives you the opportunity to choose. And I get that. So I'm not coming against whatever it is that, we're talking about, which I don't know how we even got here. It's like you wake up and you're like, I should have turned left at Albuquerque. I don't know where this came from, but it's like, if a man that has only one option has no options.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
So, we create healthier options and give people an opportunity to choose. But just like me, right? Okay. So when I'm in like a sales call, okay, and I'm talking to a customer, and the customer is talking about another company that they previously used, or another company that they are not so happy with, or another company that they may be happy with, and I'm trying to get them to experience a better way, okay, an alternative choice that may be a little more healthier for them, for their family, and maybe more effective, right? So the one thing that I don't do is I don't bash the
other
competitor.
company. Right. Right.
I don't bash them. I don't
Right.
say, well, you know
Great
what?
point.
You're right. They're this, they're that, they're this, they're that. So use me.
Yeah.
That in and of itself for me, I feel is professionally irresponsible. So
I would agree.
And that's the spirit in which I come and present the information I was sharing for the last 20 minutes.
Would agree. I'm a high five that because I 100% agree that's not professional in business. We're not talking about business. We're talking about the right to experience this planet as a human being with equity. That's being egregiously taken away from us.
Okay, I get all of that, right? But in that conversation, I'm not a big fan of the. Okay, so you said right, the right to experience, right? Something that has been egregiously taken, like, so there's right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Well,
But hold on. Even though it's a fact, okay. Even though it is, okay, fine. That's what that does is that basically for me robs the energy of the good that you're trying to do by implanting what the negative and that creates the distraction. That in and of itself creates the distraction. So now you don't focus on the positive way, you focus on the distraction of egregious.
I see what you're saying, but I think you're looking at it through a lens of business and professionalism. I'm looking at it through a lens of they will murder you.
No, okay. I get that.
No, because that takes it to another level. This is not about focusing on the positive alternative and being professionally responsible and not discounting the other party. This is about understanding that your quality of life, your life itself is being subjected to the whim of somebody who believes a lie, and that lie is that their life is worth more than yours, and they're going to keep you and your children and your family at this particular space for no unprovoked and unwarranted. This is not business anymore. This is your life. No, I feel like last point. I feel like what we need to do is focus on both the positive alternative and the fact that these people are literally trying to murder you, okay? Because then that turns from this vague struggle, right, to a fight. And there's no way to win a struggle. It's not even defined. How do you win a struggle? I don't know. If I say I want to struggle with you, I don't know. That if I come at you and say, let's fight, you go immediately into fight mode. And the fight isn't friendly or pretty. This isn't a friendly or pretty dynamic that I'm describing. It's your babies being bashed against a tree and served to alligators. That's a fact. They burned down a whole city and murdered 3,000 innocent, beautiful black people. That's a fact.
I get that.
So that's what all of this is.
No,
it is a fight.
No,
because it's not business.
Listen, okay, it is. Okay, so the fight, right, with this whole thing, right, of history is, what it creates is it creates a we versus them, a us versus them, when it's not all of them. Okay, so I can't really subscribe to a because listen, man, I have those people that have that type of a heritage, backline, or whatever the case may be, that are in my life now that are very supportive, great people, good energy. And if I set myself in a mindset of us versus them, then a lot of times it leaves me out. Like it puts a glass ceiling on me. Now, listen, you could be murdered, bashed up against the wall, your mother shot in front of your face by your own kind. Okay, Baltimore City. Okay, so what I'm saying is that's not mutually exclusive in and of itself.
I think that position is the diluted response to not understanding and knowing what's actually happening. What's actually happening is not me initiating an us versus them. It's been us versus them from the beginning. And we did not initiate that.
No,
we did not initiate that. And the history piece of it is also, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something I really want to address in this space in 2022, is that we are the only people who are so disconnected from our history, not understanding the facts, reality, and the agenda of the people who have inflicted that history upon us, to have a solidarity, if you are black, we are on the same side type of mentality, and actually be forgiving and inclusive. We're the Jews don't feel that way about Nazi Germany. They don't. It was us versus them. It always was. But we have been so diluted, and I get it. We grew up with some of them. Some of them are good friends. I have them too. I do. But at the end of the day, there is no way the people who have been, the little girls who were murdered in Alabama, there's no way the men who've been lynched and women who've been raped and sodomized, there's no way all this blood can be on the street and nobody be held accountable, okay? And all the blood is on one side. Okay. And there is no move. There is no, what's our unified response? They have a unified response. They know it's us versus them because they are not on our side. We are the only ones who are like not clear. And that's a very strategic move because we have when people are unclear, they're not mobile. They're not mobilized. They can't mobilize. You're conflicted. When you're conflicted, you can't move. And I understand it. I see it and I see how it's been done. But I think when we look at just the facts, not the feelings, just the fact, what are the numbers of black men and women who are being victimized in so many ways, like ways that we're not all aware of? And that's the problem. And we don't understand it. It's deliberate. There is no system. It's a group of people, human beings who go, we're going to put this in the history books. We're going to create the school to prison pipeline. We're going to give them crack. We're going to get the men out of the home with the Welfare Act. Like, think about that. They literally had the home police, night police, who would knock on your door. Is there a man here? If there's a man living here, you're not going to get this money. That was a law. That was the people who we're voting for initiated that. Who did that affect? The 13th Amendment of the Constitution. The amendment, which means they fixed some things, uses the word slavery. That was not in reference to them. That word did not reference them. It was specifically references us. It's always been us versus them. We just have not been clear on that.
I understand that. And the clarity piece that I bring to the table in my life and my lifestyle and the way that I've been, because I've experienced both sides.
Mm-hmm. Right? As have I.
Is that it's kind of like what my girl said, use what you got to get what you want. Instead of fighting against what has already been established for hundreds of years, use that to your advantage with the knowledge of knowing what you're dealing with. See, the problem is that when you come in a situation and, you know, you're talking about trust and vulnerability and all of these things, mm-hmm. you know, if you understand what it is that you're dealing with, understand what it is that you can't fight an enemy that you don't understand.
That's a fact.
Right? That you don't know.
That's a fact.
So the thing is that understand and know what it is that you're dealing with. It doesn't mean that you have to totally dismiss what it is and branch out and do something new. The path has already been laid. Ecclesiastes says that there's nothing new under the sun.
What path? You said the path is laid. What path?
So the path. Okay, so. If you are trying to anything, like, you know, any path, anything, like, say for example, you are trying to, let's just say you're in the projects or whatever, and you're trying to get out of the projects, right? The path to get out of the projects is really like already been laid. There've been hundreds of thousands of people that have gotten out, right? So what I'm saying is, understand that, okay, fine, what you're dealing with, the oppression, all of that, but how can you use that to your advantage? How, and that's in every martial art form, every whatever. You don't
flow
run
with the water.
But you flow and you dodge the rocks. You dodge. You know what I'm saying? You navigate.
But I think that's one thing that we need to do.
Yeah, you have to navigate.
But I don't think that's the only thing we need to do. Here's why. That's one part of what we need to do. Why is, what is the end goal of that? When you look at that on a timeline and say you're navigating and getting out of projects, we've been getting out of projects for 50 years.
Okay.
Hold on. 50 years, which means we're going to continue doing that. Some of us are going to make it, some of us are not. There are 2 million black men right now in the prison system being monetized and used as modern day slaves. That all came from many of them came from the projects, right? My point is this, my point is right here. At what point do we figure out a way to have a more explicit and comprehensive win rather than us always being the ones navigating getting out of projects?
So
because my agenda, punchline right here, my agenda is, and this is what we don't have, that's why I asked you what path is there. The path I'm laying says we go to a point of self-governance and freedom from white inadequacy. Self-governance, which means we become the powers that be. Now, that's not something that's going to happen overnight, but I think we need to do what you said. We need to navigate, and we have a dual agenda, and we need to create systems outside of this system that allows us to experience healthier, more equal lifestyle where we're not considered minorities, where we're not considered just a color and a number.
You know what? And that and in theory, on paper, in a poster, it sounds wonderful, but in actual application and implementation, what that model there assumes, okay, is that everybody's on the same page, everybody's going to be fair, and everybody is moving in the same lane with what the cause and the purpose and the vision is of what we're trying to do all together. Unfortunately, there are those that are among us, our own people, that will take advantage of that and create the same kind of chaos that we're trying to diverge ourselves from. So the way out, you talk about the path, is each one teach one, each one reach one. Do what it is that you can as an individual.
What's the end goal?
The end goal is for us to be in a space where we can live life mentally, spiritually, and physically whole. Okay. So that's the end goal. So whether that's not that doesn't happen through a holistic divergent shift of everything and recreation of the wheel. It doesn't happen that way.
How does it happen then?
It happens by creating a system of values and spiritual principles that you govern your life by.
Okay.
That's how that happens. And the way that you get there is by those in the home teaching their children a specific way or path that they took.
See, that is a lot of theory without, what are you teaching? You're in the home talking about spiritual. What? Give me an example. To me, my thing is very concrete and direct. It says separate from the entity that values you as a commodity, imprisons you, tortures you, and oppresses you. Create your own with your own value system where you're not considered a minority. You're actually considered biologically superior, because the idea of a minority, is that an opinion or a fact? That's an opinion. White supremacy, is that an opinion or a fact? That's an opinion. Melanated people actually being biologically superior to unmelanated people, is that an opinion or a fact? That's a fact. That's not taught in this system, because this system is leveraged upon commodifying melanated people and oppressing them, keeping them at the bottom of every chart, and those the ruling minority at the top. How does that benefit us? It doesn't. It keeps us exactly where we are. What's a win for us? If my model is called separate and create. We identify that system as toxic. separate from it and create our own spiritual principles, where we teach our black children that your melanin is a gift from the Creator. It's not a curse. It's not something that makes you a bad person, as you're taught in this country. It's actually the foundation of all civilization. It's melanin that created mathematics. It's melanin that created chemistry. It's melanin that created languages. It's melanin that created agriculture and astrology. Melanin did that. What's on your dollar bill? The pyramid, the Eye of Horus. That's melanin. So we don't have any facts to govern ourselves according to the theory of, blah, blah, blah. But for me, if we go separate from, create your own, that's fact and concrete to freedom and self-governance, where we become the powers that be. We create the educational system. If we create the educational system, would we teach Christopher Columbus discovered America? Would we teach that? Would we have slave owners on the money? If we ran the prison system, would we be monetizing prisoners? Would we be having a school to prison pipeline? If we ran it, what would the environment look like if we were in charge? Would we have a 100-year-old organization in America that will drive past a human being to go rescue a fucking dog? Would we have a dogs are your best? Would we be licking dogs in the mouth? Would we be doing that if we were the powers that be? I would suggest no.
I would suggest yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would suggest no.
Because
right?
things equal to each other, equal to the same.
That's
the only thing that's changing is the color of their skin.
No, that's not what's changing. It's the mindset. No. It's the mindset that this is not bad. This is not a minority. This isn't black.
That's an individualism.
No, it's not. It says if you have this, it's not individualism. It's the way we unite and galvanize and win this fight. It's the way we turn this from a struggle to a fight. We're struggling vaguely. There's no win. There's no clear, explicit, how do you win? I'm saying how you win, you separate and you create. That's a win. W. You are now your boss. You create the rules. You create the educational system. That's not individual. That's from melanated people who have a history of oppression from Eurocentric people.
Where do you get the money from?
We just started it without money. Here's how we just started it. Hey, here's a system that I don't like. It doesn't speak to integrity. We don't do business with each other with fast talk and fine print. Here's how we do business. Just started it. That's how you do it. And each of us do that. We go, let's identify this system is toxic and find alternatives for it.
Okay, so you just started it, right? But then you have to. That's on one layer. But in order to start it, okay, fine. Yeah, here's a better way to do whatever, right? Mm-hmm. You just started it. But the individuals that are in that also have a place where they have to be able to get resources in order to fulfill what it is that you're talking about. You with me? Now, where does that come from?
We got to be wise about this. I'm not going to tell you to go quit your job and start living in a cave. No, I'm going to say we have a duality of a reality. We have to be successful in this system while we create our own. How did Dr. King organize a boycott in Selma, Alabama for a year? That was outside of this. They didn't even have cars. They were walking to work for a year. How did he do that? What were their priorities? What did they view as important to say, we need to inconvenience ourselves for a year to step outside of this system and not give them our bus fare?
I will tell you this. Okay.
Wait, respond to that before you tell me what you tell me.
No, I get it.
Think about the reality of that.
I understand. I understand because everybody was feeling the same thing at the same time. Yeah. Pressure bust pipes. Yeah. So basically, it was where you were put in a situation where it was fight or flight. Yeah. Okay. And when you fight, there's nowhere to run. So you're put in a corner where you have to fight. Uh-huh. That was a situation where that was a live or die, have to type of thing. Yeah. Okay. I have to do this because I have no other alternative. Uh-huh. You understand? Because they weren't able to live that way. I get all of that. But what the other advantage that they had, really truly, if you really think about it, the other advantage that they have in order to be able to pull that off was they had no electronic type of communication, no internet. That was an advantage. You know why it was an advantage? Why? Because they were able to isolate their children and talk to them, and you had no other thing but to believe what it was that somebody said. You had no other way to believe. You had nothing else to go with. You were faced with either a monster on the outside or to try to survive on the inside. How do we survive? We talk to each other. We keep each other here. This is the way to go. Come this way. Go this way. Do this. Do that. Do this. It was a network that was basically underground, if you really for real, right? But now with the age of information and the internet and people being able to have free speech and free thinking, and now so that dilutes that message tremendously because now we got individuals, their own individual character. We want to be individuals. We're doing this, and I want to be my own self. I'm searching for me, and this and that and the third.
With their own agendas.
Yeah, with their own agendas. So then now you it's diluted. So the time to do what it was that you're talking about, to separate and to develop something new and go a different path with your own of everything. It's like I don't really see where that's something that the ball is too big. The ball is too big. So in other words, the ball is too. A ball in motion will continue in motion until it encounters a force greater than itself. There is no ball that you would be able to create that's bigger than that. There's no ball that you would be able to create. So I think that,
but we're not looking to create a ball bigger than that.
Well, listen,
you're thinking fight, right? Your ball meets a force greater than
itself.
But you
just said fight.
No,
you just said fight. I'm talking physics. That's like
I said separate and create. That's not a fight. That's separating from creating your own. And that's what I'm trying to really communicate. You also have to identify that it is a fight. Why? Because they will run up in your church and murder your grandmother and then take the shoe to the Burger King. That's not history. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I get that. But it's the same on the same token, you really got to look at the fact that, this is what you got drug dealers that control a block, that tell a movie crew that we're going to kill everybody if you shoot the movie here.
Okay.
So it's like,
that's not what we're looking at.
No, but that is what we're looking at. It's the same thing.
No, we're looking at the root issue, the root cause of every issue that black people have is not black people. Name one. Issue that black people have.
Black people. Black people. Okay?
No.
I think,
no. Hold on. I like that you said that. So what caused black people to be that way?
What caused black people to be that way?
Here's your answer. White people.
I don't think
Look how easy we accuse black people, but we defend white people.
And nobody's defending anybody. It's like, so my thing is like, I'm not a separatist. Like, I'm not one that says separate and create. That creates division.
Yeah, it
so
does.
We're all here. Everybody functioning on it. What you have to do is navigate, not divide.
You're leaving out oppression, murder, rape, injustice. That's
everywhere. That's in the black community and that other community. It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does matter because
but when we get it's there's a difference between catching a cold, but if they catch a cold, we get pneumonia.
We're not talking about a cold, bro. Wait a minute. Here's the reality of it, bro. We chilling. We in this office. Mm-hmm. The door get kicked in and a bag get put over your head and you get taken on a ship for 3 months and taken to all over country. You never see your family again. Black people did that, right? A form of that. But that chattel slavery was not initiated by black people. That was done for the reason of what is in your skin, my guy. That's a fact.
Okay.
Hold on, wait. Black people can survive and are genetically stronger. They can survive heat. They needed work done in America, right? So they came in with a bag, put it over your head. You never saw joy again. Period. You never saw your mom and dad again.
Okay.
Period. Hold on. That's the fact of what happened.
I understand that.
So let's come from that perspective.
Okay, I get it. I get that perspective.
From that perspective, now you have a country that still operates on that model.
Okay, and that's fine.
So how do we win?
Why is it win?
Because
why
they
is
will
it win?
murder you. That's why. That's why.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. You know,
to be black is a crime in America. You're fighting an uphill battle. You're labeled as a minority. You're 5 years old. They're targeting you to go to prison. School to prison pipeline. 5 years old. That doesn't happen to white people in Owings Mills. It doesn't. That's not a reality for them. Crack is not in their neighborhood. Who gave us crack, bro? Who took crack out of the police station in LA and put it on the streets? Who did that? It wasn't us.
No,
the guns that those drug dealers were talking about, we're gonna shoot up the block with. Where did they come from? Wasn't us.
No, I get that.
Okay, so if we get that, let's operate from this standpoint then. How do we win? How do we get out from under the foot of this system and actually live a life where we control our destiny and we're not targeted and labeled as minorities and thugs and hoodlums and lazy and ugly and is that God's will for us?
Well, I think y'all both bring up very, very striking points. And the thing about it is, right, when it comes to being an African American in the country and having a voice, there are a lot of voices that get silenced. What he has said on the platform and what you have said, there are other platforms around here you would not be able to get this off because, hold on.
I'm trying. I'm not interrupting. I'm just
no.
Yeah.
But because of, like, this is healthy to me. Like, I think what you guys are discussing needs to be discussed and needs to be talked about. But the issue that comes up is that you have these outside entities that don't take time to understand our culture and why we feel the way we feel. They don't take time to understand the historical, or they don't even care about the historical ramifications of what was done with even some of their ancestors that were pushing it. So because of all of that, there's a reason why you have this man passionately speaking the way he's speaking. There's a reason why you were passionately speaking about the way you were speaking. I think you guys want an end goal of seeing us as a people do better, but I think his way is a little different than yours. I think you guys can learn from each other. Hell, you guys wouldn't be friends this long if he wasn't.
Yeah, we just don't talk about this.
Yeah, we don't talk about this.
That's how that works.
We don't talk about this shit.
So
we don't talk about this, yo.
But that's the beauty of it. Like, you guys are close, you guys, and I will introduce the episode. I let y'all go because
let's go.
I let y'all go because this conversation.
Did you record all
I record the whole thing.
Oh my God, this guy!
You did?
I record the whole thing.
Wow. Okay.
I record the whole thing.
Good.
I let it go.
That's
I let
good.
it go. I said, all right, let
we
him have
forgot
it.
you was here.
Yeah, right.
I will say this though. I will say this, yo. I will say this. Okay. There are some situations where we don't have the power of choice. Mm-hmm. Okay. We don't have that. Okay. And in the situation of what happened to us in the past, we didn't have the power of choice. There were laws that prevented us from having the power of choice. I get that. Okay. And that was all based out of fear. All right. So, but my thing is, and the type of person that I am, the way my character is made up, I can't afford to be held hostage by my past. Like I do not live in what happened then, because that would create a situation for me today where I'm living in a reality that doesn't really exist in 2022. Right? For me. Okay. For us as a peoples in some isolated situations, yes, okay, but we're talking about something that was a consistent and a norm and a dynamic all over. It's shifted. Now it's on paper, right? It is physical in some areas and instances and situations. Those situations I feel are isolated. I don't feel that those situations are the norm. I feel like those situations are really the outlier type, where it used to be the norm. Mm-hmm. It's not anymore. Okay, I get that. So it's kind of like, if I operate my life in a way that I am thinking or feeling or expressing myself in the way that is the norm when it's not, I'm being held hostage by my past. Mm-hmm. So I want to be able to be free from that so that I can look at the playing field from the windshield as opposed to the rear view mirror.
Right.
So when I look at it from the windshield, I can see, yes, there are pockets of this here, that there, this, it's out there. Okay. I get it. But today, God has blessed me with the power of choice. So it blessed me with the power of choice. And my choice is to find the best way to navigate these waters, so to speak, with people that I know that have made it through to where I want to go, to where I feel that I'll be whole and secure, and to connect with them and follow in their path. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like how I operate. Yeah. I'm not really so much looking at, and I look through stuff through a sometimes a very narrow lens. Mm-hmm. And that happens to be part of the selfishness piece inside me. I get that. I understand. But selfishness for me is a character defect, but in a lot of situations it's an asset because it protects me from me. It keeps me safe. And then a lot of times it protects me from you too. You know, whether you black, white, green, orange, or whatever, I can't afford to pigeonhole that, because you know what? I was in a house, okay, where I had a black brother that's supposed to be like put a gun in my face, strip my clothes down, and take all of my money, and you know what I mean? And look in his eyes and see that he wanted to shoot me. But somebody must have told him not to. But he took everything I had. But I'm thinking, hey, look, man, we all in this together. So now we got pitfalls and snakes and stuff all in the side of whatever it is that we have. It's all over. It don't matter what color you are. It has to do with the motive of what it is that you're operating under. And only God knows the heart of man.
Yeah. And I think that you definitely, I get from your perspective about how you're feeling about that, because honestly, in my personal opinion, I think that there is, and I'm going to take time now to introduce everybody. So this is Audio Airstrike episode 212. I'm your host, Everett Hall-McNeill. To my right, which is just guys left, this is a dynamic poet, a rap artist. He is also one half of the Right Now Brothers and also a part of the company Mango Tree. They host Mango Tree Tuesdays, where they allow poets and artists to come in. And they also have an upcoming podcast, which is going to be released soon. And they're going to tell you more about that towards the end of this episode. But with me at this time, I have Bernard Komplex Kirk. And I got Alvin the Testimony Bowman, a spiritual
Alvin the Testimony.
Yeah, that's it. Man.
Yeah. He is a spiritual leader. He is a poet in his own right. He is also dabbles into music and overall motivational speaker in a lot of ways too. So these are two gentlemen I wanted to bring on to have this discussion. Now, I know that some of y'all heard this and was like, this is a dynamic conversation, but where's Everett? Look, I just had to let it go. The conversation was getting so good. I know people are used to hearing my voice the first 20 seconds, but it's like, hey, like, let these dudes go. This has been an awesome discussion. I just kind of want to just share some thoughts about it, right? So I think there's a room in the black community for both. I think we need guys like a Testimony Bowman, and I think we need guys like Comp. Because you're going to be the guy that says, you ain't even waiting for the fire alarm to go off. If you even see something is wrong, or even see the slightest bit of passive-aggressive behavior that's going to cause a violent act later, you're going to call it out. But you also need somebody like him that'd be like, okay, I'm aware of the history, but I don't want it to die. I don't want it to pacify me in a way. I want to come in this with a clear, and I'm not saying that, which I ain't saying you ain't thinking clear, but I'm saying he wants to look at it like, okay, clean slate. What is this situation right now?
Right. What am I seeing?
What's on the table? Yeah, and I think that there's room for both. I think, like, if you ain't with him, he doesn't get to where he is. If he's not with you,
I think it might be more.
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I think I might need him more than he needs me.
But I'm saying, but you see the balance that I'm talking about.
Sure. I see the balance.
Well, let me say this though. Let me say this because, in all honesty, I don't think what we need is balance. And let me say it that way. I think we have to look at it for what it is, not how it feels, not how we feel. What it is we are living in a country that commodifies you based on your skin color. That's not my opinion.
But
that's a fact.
Okay, I get that.
But hold on. And what I think we need is a clear and explicit win. Balance is an act of negotiation. You don't negotiate with a terrorist. You don't negotiate with someone who will pull you. Okay. You're the biggest out of the three of us. You're the tallest out of the three of us. Mm-hmm. So history says that you're the one that they pull up in front of all the slaves, and the slave master rapes you and sodomizes you in front of everybody. That's a fact. Now, what I want to get at is that blood, that trauma runs in your skin. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. Okay? We are connected to that. What has happened is you can't see the game from in the game. In this game, all of the authoritative figures do not look like you. The narrative is not created by you or your story. The story that you've been fed is not your own. The story you've been fed is that Christopher Columbus discovered America. What you're not told is that Christopher Columbus was a sex trafficker who had 13-year-old girls who look a lot like Candace Owens, little dark-skinned cuties, little chocolate babies, who was not on the ship for the purpose of being enslaved for those 3 months. It just wasn't. The ship named Jesus. You're not told that. The story you're told is not true. Mm-hmm. So what you believe is not factual. So you can't win from that space because you're not understanding all the elements that you need to incorporate to create a. Your agenda is not even to win. My agenda is how do we win? How are we on top of the food chain, not at the bottom?
Got you. So so when I mean balance, I'm not saying try to reason or balance with them. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have a hard time trying to reason or balance with them. I'm talking about amongst us. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean when I said balance.
Okay.
He needs you so that when you come into something like clean slate, you'd be like, okay, this is the play. Okay, cool. You need him because he's coming in militant, but he's coming in radical at times, but it's for a key reason. He's coming in like, okay, we're doing this and this is great, but I am constantly got my eye towards what the enemy is doing. And the second I see something wrong, I'm ringing the freaking bell. I'm coming in and I'm telling you. I think I think you need that for both. I don't think there's nothing wrong with what both of you guys have said, in my personal opinion. I don't think there's nothing wrong with what he said. Mm-mm. But here's the problem in this country, and I'm going to get this to this topic. Mm-hmm. The problem is what's going on that I'm seeing is that we are at a space where we are learning from each other. And I had to correct
Who's we? Like black people are learning from each other, black people, other groups?
Black people, I would say there's a mix of both. Mm-hmm. Because how we met, we were all learning through each other. And all learning how each other like operates and things.
I think the problem is that black people are not all immediately on the same team. We don't go.
That's a caveat. Yeah.
But we don't go because you're black and I'm black. Our history is the same. We don't go that. We find ways to. What's the biggest problem with black people in America?
The media.
No, we're not united. We're not united. That's outside of us.
The media is a good answer.
But that's outside of us. But that's outside of us. We don't control the media.
Right.
The problem is within us, we're not united. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest problem. And the reality of that is that's a very easy fix. Mm-hmm. That's a very quick fix to say.
That is not a very quick fix.
It absolutely is because what divides us is not factual. What unites us is.
Okay, but you have to fight through the perception of what that is.
Well, that's what makes it easy.
It doesn't make it easy. That makes it difficult because the enemy is the inner me. Okay, and we have a spirit and a flesh that we're at war with. Okay, So if we were all on the same spiritual plane and on the same spiritual, I would say spiritual platform or spiritual direction, if we were all in the same spiritual space, then that surrender to win attitude definitely would work.
Let me add that the issue is not, and don't jump on me for this, the issue is not spiritual.
The issue is spiritual.
I asked you not to jump on me. I knew you was going to do it. I knew you was going to do it.
Everything. The issue is always spiritual. It's the war between the spirit and the flesh.
I hear you.
That's clear.
I hear you.
Now,
the issue is,
you know he ain't the religious.
Wait, hold on. Hang on, guys. Hang on. Let's establish something, okay? Let's establish one thing very easily and very simply.
Okay.
What black people have been doing since we've been here is not working. Okay? It's not working. We're not seeing results that explicitly move us up in any way, shape, or form. Okay? What I'm saying to you is the issue of me looking at this other black person and not going, yo, we on the same team is not a spiritual issue. Okay? It's an issue of information that now you can source it all you want, but here's how that happens. The information that we're receiving when you watch a National Geographic TV show and they're in Africa and you hear a European voice going, now the lions out here on this wilderness are really, really quite violent. And you see the natives over there and they go, the natives often get in trouble because they blah, 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 blah. And you go, nobody goes, why are you in Africa? And why aren't we hearing about the lions from the people that actually live with them? Mm-hmm. That's the issue. The authorities on anything do not look like us. Our story is not being told. How do we view Africa? Africa is actually the greatest continent on the planet. Africa is the biggest continent on the planet. If you look at a map today, right, McNally, it is actually inaccurate. America has overinflated its physical parameters and diminished Africa. Africa can fit America, China, and India. That's a fact. The issue is the information that we have about ourselves does not come from us. It comes from a party that by their actions, are they friendly to us or an enemy to us?